Security guards were ready to arrest a poor black boy at a construction site, but when they checked the cameras, the millionaire builder fell to his knees. Andre's sneakers scraped against the cracked sidewalk as he made his way home from school. His backpack weighed heavy on his shoulders. Loaded with textbooks, he couldn't afford to leave in his locker. The afternoon sun beat down on the Bronx streets, making his blue t-shirt stick to his back. He patted his pocket for the 100th time that day, feeling the folded eviction notice crinkle against his leg. 3 months behind on rent. His mom didn't know he'd found the notice in the mail this morning, and he planned to keep it that way until he figured something out. A police siren wailed in the distance. Andre's shoulders tensed automatically, his steps quickening. The sound brought back the memory he fought daily to suppress. His father's last moments, 3 years ago, when a routine traffic stop had turned deadly. "Keep walking," he muttered to himself, adjusting his backpack straps. "Just keep walking." The neighborhood around him gradually changed as he made his way toward Manhattan, where his mother worked. Clean sidewalks replaced cracked ones. Steel and glass towers stretched toward the sky. Men and women in expensive suits rushed past, their eyes sliding over him like he was invisible. A security guard outside a bank adjusted his stance as Andre passed, following him with narrowed eyes. Andre kept his gaze forward, his face carefully neutral. His mother's voice echoed in his head. "Don't give them any reason, baby. Just keep your head high and keep moving." His stomach growled. The lunch money had gone toward bus fare for his mother this week. She didn't know he'd been walking the hour and a half home every day instead of taking the bus himself. Better she think he was spending it on food. His phone buzzed, an old model with a cracked screen. A text from his mother. "Working late again tonight. Leftover chicken in the fridge. Don't wait up. Love you, heartsuit." Andre's throat tightened. She'd been working late every night this week, cleaning offices in Manhattan. He typed back quickly, "Okay, Mom. Love you too." He passed a construction site, the noise of machinery filling the air. A massive hole gaped in the ground, surrounded by yellow tape and metal barriers. Workers in hard hats moved around the site like ants, carrying tools and shouting instructions. A little girl in a pink dress caught his eye. She couldn't have been more than 7 or 8, playing with a tablet near the edge of the construction zone. Something about her position made Andre's chest tighten. She was too close to the barrier, which looked unstable where she leaned against it. "Hey," he called out, but his voice was lost in the construction noise. The barrier wobbled. The girl, absorbed in her game, didn't notice. Andre's heart jumped into his throat. Without thinking, he dropped his backpack and broke into a run. Time seemed to slow down. He saw every detail with crystal clarity. The barrier starting to give way, the girl still unaware. The drop behind her that would mean certain death. His legs pumped harder than they ever had before. "Move," he shouted, reaching for her. The girl looked up, startled. The barrier creaked and began to fall. Andre lunged forward, his fingers grabbing the fabric of her dress. He yanked her toward him with all his strength, his other arm wrapping around her waist as they both tumbled backward onto the concrete. For a moment, they lay there gasping. The metal barrier crashed down into the construction pit with a deafening clang. Then the shouting started. "What's going on over there? Someone grab that kid. Call security." Heavy footsteps approached. Andre tried to stand, but rough hands grabbed his shoulders, pushing him back down. "Don't move," a deep voice commanded. Andre looked up to see 2 security guards looming over him, their faces hard with suspicion. The girl was crying now, her tablet forgotten on the ground. Around them, a crowd began to gather, their murmurs growing louder by the second. "I was just trying to dash," Andre started to explain, but one of the guards cut him off. "Be quiet and stay where you are. Police are on their way." Andre's heart pounded against his ribs. In his pocket, the eviction notice crinkled, forgotten in the chaos of the moment. All he could think about was his mother, still cleaning offices somewhere in one of these towers, unaware that her son's life was about to change forever. The security guard's grip tightened on Andre's shoulder. His knees hurt from the rough concrete, but he didn't dare move. The little girl had stopped crying, but her breathing came in sharp hiccups. "Sarah? Sarah?" A woman in a hard hat pushed through the growing crowd. "Oh my God, Sarah!" The girl's head snapped up. Ms. Jenny. The woman, apparently a site supervisor, knelt beside them, pulling Sarah into a quick hug before checking her for injuries. Are you hurt? What happened? The fence was falling. Sarah hiccuped. He pulled me away. More workers gathered around them. Andre counted at least 15 people now, their faces a mix of confusion and suspicion. His throat felt dry. He knew how this looked, a black teenager from the Bronx, grabbing a little girl at a construction site. Did anyone see what happened? The female supervisor asked, still holding Sarah close. I saw him running at her. One of the workers called out. Came out of nowhere. Andre's stomach dropped. The barrier was giving way. He tried to explain. I saw it starting to fall. Sure you did, kid, the security guard behind him muttered. The other guard stepped forward, speaking into his radio. We've got a situation at the north entrance. Possible attempted no. Sarah suddenly pulled away from the supervisor. He helped me. The fence was falling, and he pulled me back. The guard paused, but his expression remained skeptical. Andre's hands were shaking now. He clasped them together to hide it. A new voice cut through the murmurs. Check the security cameras. Everyone turned. A tall construction worker pointed to a corner of the building. There's a camera right there. It would have caught the whole thing. The female supervisor nodded. Jenkins, pull up the footage. One of the guards released Andre's shoulder to check his tablet. The crowd grew quiet, waiting. Andre's heart pounded so loud he was sure everyone could hear it. The guard's expression changed as he watched the screen. Without a word, he turned the tablet around for everyone to see. The footage was clear, the barrier wobbling, beginning to fall. Andre dropping his backpack, sprinting forward. The last-second grab that pulled Sarah to safety mere moments before the barrier crashed down. Jesus, someone whispered. The grip on Andre's other shoulder disappeared. He stood slowly, his legs shaky. You saved her life, the female supervisor said quietly. If you hadn't been there, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Everyone could see the footage, could imagine what would have happened if Andre had walked past instead of stopping. Sarah tugged at his shirt. Thank you, she said solemnly. Her eyes were still wet with tears, but she wasn't crying anymore. Andre managed a small smile. You're welcome. We need to call Mr. Thompson, the supervisor said, pulling out her phone. Sarah's his daughter. The name meant nothing to Andre, but he noticed how the crowd tensed at its mention. Robert Thompson? The developer. One of the security guards asked, suddenly looking nervous. The supervisor nodded, already dialing. Sarah's father owns this entire project. And several others across the city. Andre's legs felt weak again. He hadn't just saved any little girl. He'd saved the daughter of someone powerful. Someone rich. Someone who could make his life very good or very bad, depending on how they interpreted what had just happened. The supervisor spoke quietly into her phone, walking a few steps away. Andre caught fragments. Sarah's fine? Yes, no, a young man saved her. More people were arriving now. Police cars pulled up to the curb, lights flashing. Andre's chest tightened at the sight of their uniforms. His father's voice echoed in his memory. Always keep your hands visible, son. Always stay calm. They're just here to take statements, the female supervisor said, noticing his expression. Standard procedure. But Andre knew better. Nothing was ever standard procedure when it came to someone like him. He watched the officers approach, their hands resting casually near their weapons. Sarah suddenly grabbed his hand. Her small fingers wrapped around his, surprising him. Don't be scared, she said. I'll tell them you're a hero. Andre squeezed her hand gently, wishing he had her confidence. In his 13 years of life, he'd learned that being a hero wasn't always enough. Sometimes it didn't matter what you did, only what people assumed you were going to do. The first officer reached them, notebook already out. I need to speak with the young man, he said. Sarah's grip tightened. His name is Andre, she announced. And he saved my life. The officer's eyebrows rose slightly. He looked at Andre with new interest. Is that right? Why don't you tell me exactly what happened here? Before Andre could speak, a black SUV screeched to a halt at the curb. The crowd parted as a tall man in an expensive suit stepped out, his face tight with worry. Sarah, he called. Daddy. Sarah released Andre's hand and ran to her father. Mr. Thompson scooped her up, holding her tight against his chest. Andre watched them, thinking of his own father, of the last time they'd hugged. Then Mr. Thompson turned, still holding Sarah, and his sharp eyes locked onto Andre. "Are you the one?" he asked. "The one who saved my daughter?" Andre straightened his shoulders, trying to look braver than he felt. "Yes, sir." Mr. Thompson studied him for a long moment. In the silence, Andre could hear his own heart beating, could feel the weight of everyone's stares. "I want to see the security footage," Mr. Thompson said finally. "And I want to speak with this young man." Privately, the supervisor hurried forward with the tablet. As Mr. Thompson watched the video, his expression changed from concern to shock to something Andre couldn't quite read. "Your name?" Mr. Thompson asked, not looking up from the screen. "Andre Williams, sir." "And your parents?" Andre swallowed hard. "It's just my mom and me, sir. She's at work right now." Mr. Thompson looked up sharply. "Call her. Get her here." One of the security guards stepped forward. "Sir, the police still need to dash. The police can wait." Mr. Thompson cut him off. "This young man saved my daughter's life. The least we can do is make sure his mother knows what kind of son she's raised." Andre pulled out his phone, his hand still shaking slightly. He stared at the cracked screen, thinking of his mother cleaning offices somewhere above them. She'd be fired for sure if she left work now. But as he looked at the number of missed calls already showing on his screen, he realized she probably already knew something was wrong. News traveled fast in places like this. He pressed dial, holding his breath as it rang. "Andre?" His mother's voice was tight with worry. "Baby, what's happening?" "My supervisor just told me there was some kind of incident, Mom." He interrupted gently. "I need you to come to the construction site on 42nd Street. I'm okay, but there's someone who needs to talk to you." There was a pause. He could hear her breathing, could imagine her face. "I'll be there in 15 minutes, she said finally. "Don't move. Don't say anything else until I get there." The line went dead. Andre lowered the phone, looking up to find Mr. Thompson still watching him. "She's coming," he said quietly. Mr. Thompson nodded. "Good. We have a lot to discuss." Sarah, still in her father's arms, gave Andre a small wave. He waved back, trying to smile, but inside his stomach was churning. In less than an hour, he'd gone from being invisible on these streets to the center of attention. He wasn't sure which was worse. The police officers stood nearby, talking quietly into their radios. The crowd of workers had thinned somewhat, but many remained, watching the scene unfold with obvious interest. Andre picked up his backpack from where he'd dropped it, brushing off the dirt. The eviction notice crinkled in his pocket, reminding him of all the problems that had seemed so important just an hour ago. Now, standing in the shadow of the half-built tower, waiting for his mother to arrive, Andre realized those problems might be the least of his worries. The next 15 minutes felt like hours. Mr. Thompson had moved Sarah and Andre into an air-conditioned site office, away from the crowd's prying eyes. Two police officers stood just outside the door, their shadows visible through the frosted glass. Andre sat stiffly in a plastic chair, painfully aware of his dirty sneakers on the clean floor. Sarah had settled into a chair next to him, still clutching her tablet, while Mr. Thompson spoke quietly with the site's supervisor in the corner. "Do you like Minecraft?" Sarah asked suddenly, tilting her tablet toward him. Andre glanced at the screen. "Never played it," he admitted, "but my friend Marcus says it's cool." "You can build anything you want," Sarah explained, her eyes lighting up. "I made a whole castle with Sarah." Mr. Thompson's voice was gentle but firm. "Let's give Andre some space right now." The girl's face fell, but she nodded, returning to her game. Andre caught Mr. Thompson studying him again, that same unreadable expression on his face. A commotion outside drew their attention. Andre recognized his mother's voice, sharp with worry. "My son is in there. Don't you dare tell me to wait." The door burst open. Lisa Williams stood there in her cleaning uniform, her hair coming loose from its neat bun, eyes wild with concern until they landed on Andre. "Baby!" She rushed forward, pulling him into a tight hug. Andre could feel her heart racing. "Are you hurt? Did they hurt you?" "I'm okay, Mom," he whispered, breathing in the familiar scent of cleaning supplies and her coconut shampoo. "I promise." She pulled back, holding his face between her hands. examining him as if she didn't quite believe him. Then she turned, positioning herself slightly in front of Andre, facing Mr. Thompson. "What's going on here?" she demanded. "Why are there police outside?" Mr. Thompson stepped forward, his hands raised in a calming gesture. "Mrs. Williams MS," she corrected automatically. "Ms. Williams," he amended smoothly. "I'm Robert Thompson. Your son saved my daughter's life today." Lisa's stance shifted slightly. "What?" The site supervisor stepped forward with her tablet, playing the security footage again. Andre watched his mother's face as she saw what had happened. The barrier falling, his sprint, the rescue. Her hands tightened on his shoulders. "The barrier wasn't properly secured," Mr. Thompson explained. If Andre hadn't acted, he glanced at Sarah, leaving the sentence unfinished. Lisa's grip relaxed slightly, but Andre could still feel the tension in her body. "Then why are the police here?" "Standard procedure for any incident on a construction site," the supervisor explained quickly. "We need statements for insurance purposes, and you needed 2 officers to get a statement from a 13-year-old boy." The room grew uncomfortably quiet. Even Sarah looked up from her game, sensing the shift in atmosphere. "Mom," Andre said softly. "It's okay." But it wasn't okay. They all knew it. The unspoken truth hung heavy in the air. 2 officers weren't standard procedure. 2 officers were there because of what Andre looked like where he came from. Mr. Thompson cleared his throat. "Ms. Williams, you're absolutely right. The police presence was an overreaction. Officers," he called out, opening the door. "We won't be needing you anymore. My legal team will handle any necessary paperwork." The officers hesitated, but something in Mr. Thompson's expression made them nod and step away. The door closed again, leaving them in charged silence. "Now," Mr. Thompson continued, "I'd like to discuss how I can properly thank your son for what he did today." Lisa's chin lifted. "My son doesn't need thanks for doing what's right." "Mom," Andre protested quietly. The eviction notice felt like it was burning a hole in his pocket. "Perhaps not," Mr. Thompson agreed. "But I'd like to offer it anyway." He paused, studying them both. "Ms. Williams, where do you work?" "I clean offices," she answered stiffly. "In fact, I need to get back. You clean my offices," Mr. Thompson interrupted. 15th floor of the Thompson building. "I recognize your uniform." Andre saw his mother's back straighten, her pride warring with uncertainty. "You do excellent work," Mr. Thompson continued. "Your supervisor has mentioned it several times. But I imagine the hours are difficult, especially with a teenage son." "We manage," Lisa said. Mr. Thompson nodded. "I'm sure you do. But I have a proposition for you." He gestured to the chairs. "Please sit, both of you." After a moment's hesitation, they sat. Sarah immediately scooted her chair closer to Andre's, showing him something on her tablet. Andre barely noticed, focused on the conversation unfolding. "My personal assistant recently left to have a baby," Mr. Thompson explained. "I need someone organized, detail-oriented, and most importantly, someone I can trust." He looked directly at Lisa. "Someone who understands the value of family." Andre felt his mother tense beside him. "Mr. Thompson, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but the hours are 9 to 5, he continued. "Full benefits, double your current salary. And," he glanced at Andre, "the office is just 3 blocks from your son's school." The silence that followed was deafening. Andre could hear his own heart beating, could feel the weight of the eviction notice in his pocket. "Why?" Lisa asked finally. "Because my son saved your daughter?" "That's not because you're qualified," Mr. Thompson cut in. "Because you've worked in my building for 2 years without a single complaint. Because your current supervisor raves about your attention to detail." He paused. "And yes, because your son showed me that you've raised him with the kind of values I want around my company." Sarah tugged at her father's sleeve. "Can Andre come visit sometimes?" Mr. Thompson smiled slightly. "That would be up to his mother." Andre watched his mother's face, saw the calculations happening behind her eyes. The late nights, the endless cleaning, the worry about rent. All of it could end. But he also saw her pride, her determination not to take charity. "I don't want special treatment," she said finally. "It's not special treatment," Mr. Thompson replied. "It's recognition of talent. Your son recognized danger and acted. I'm recognizing your potential and acting. That's all." Lisa looked at Andre, her eyes searching his face. He nodded slightly, hoping she could see everything he couldn't say about the eviction notice, about his walks home, about wanting her to be able to rest. She turned back to Mr. Thompson. When would you want me to start? Monday. He smiled. That gives you tomorrow to give notice at your current position, and the weekend to prepare. I need to give 2 weeks dash. I'll handle it, Mr. Thompson assured her. Your supervisor works for me, remember? Andre felt something loosen in his chest, a tension he hadn't even realized he was carrying. His mother was still sitting straight-backed, proud, but he could see the relief in her eyes. Thank you, she said simply. Mr. Thompson nodded, then turned to Andre. Thank you, he said, equally simply. Sarah jumped up suddenly. Does this mean Andre can come to my birthday party next month? The adults laughed, breaking the tension. Andre felt himself smile, really smile for the first time since the whole thing began. Outside the office window, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the construction site. The barrier had been cleared away, the danger gone. But Andre knew something had shifted, changed irreversibly. He'd walked these streets feeling invisible for so long. Now, sitting in this office with his mother's hand in his, Sarah chattering about birthday cake, and Mr. Thompson making notes about Monday's schedule, Andre felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. He felt seen. The security footage played on repeat on the large monitor in Mr. Thompson's temporary office. Andre watched himself run toward Sarah for what felt like the 100th time. His mom squeezed his hand tighter with each viewing. Stop it there, Mr. Thompson instructed the security tech. The image froze just as Andre's fingers caught Sarah's dress. How long between when he first spotted the danger and when he acted? The tech checked the timestamp. Less than 3 seconds, sir. 3 seconds, Mr. Thompson repeated quietly. He turned to the police officers who had remained despite his earlier dismissal. Does that look like someone planning something malicious to you? The older officer shifted uncomfortably. No, sir. The footage is quite clear. Crystal clear, Mr. Thompson agreed, his voice hard. So, I trust there won't be any need for further questioning? We still need to file a report dash, then file it. Mr. Thompson's tone left no room for argument. File it exactly as you see it here. A young man saw my daughter in danger and saved her life. That's the beginning and end of this story. The officers nodded, gathering their notebooks. As they turned to leave, the younger one paused. Kid, he said, looking at Andre. That was brave. Real brave. Andre nodded slightly, not trusting himself to speak. His mother's grip hadn't loosened. Once the police left, Sarah tugged at her father's sleeve. Can I show Andre my drawings? Please. Mr. Thompson checked his watch. It's getting late, sweetheart. Maybe another time. But Daddy Dash, actually, Lisa spoke up, her voice steady despite her tight grip on Andre's hand. We should be going too. I need to give notice at my other cleaning jobs. Of course. Mr. Thompson pressed a button on his desk phone. Jenny, could you come in, please? The site supervisor from earlier entered, still in her hard hat. Yes, sir. Please escort Ms. Williams to her current supervisor's office. Make sure everything's handled smoothly. He turned to Lisa. Take the rest of today and tomorrow off, with pay. I'll have HR send over the paperwork for Monday. Lisa stood, finally releasing Andre's hand. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Robert, he corrected. If you're going to be my assistant, you should call me Robert. A small smile crossed Lisa's face. Thank you, Robert. Andre can stay here with Sarah and me while you handle things, Mr. Thompson suggested. If that's all right with you? Lisa hesitated, looking at Andre. He nodded slightly. Okay, she agreed. But not too long, baby. We need to talk about some things at home. Andre thought of the eviction notice in his pocket. Yes, ma'am. After Lisa left with Jenny, Sarah immediately dragged her chair closer to Andre's. Want to see my drawings? She thrust her tablet at him without waiting for an answer. Andre took it carefully, aware of how expensive it must be. The screen showed a series of colorful digital drawings, mostly castles and princesses, but also some surprising ones of construction equipment. I like watching them build, Sarah explained, pointing to a detailed crane. Daddy says I might be an architect someday. These are really good, Andre said, meaning it. The drawings showed real attention to detail, especially for a 7-year-old. Mr. Thompson watched them interact, his expression thoughtful. Sarah spends a lot of time at construction sites with me, he explained. Her mother isn't in the picture anymore. Andre nodded, understanding the unspoken message. He knew what it was like to have a missing parent. Is that why you were here today? He asked Sarah. She nodded. Usually I stay in Daddy's office, but Ginny was showing me the new playground they're building next door. Her face fell slightly. I wasn't supposed to go near the barrier. No, you weren't, Mr. Thompson agreed, but his voice was gentle. We'll talk about that later. A knock at the door interrupted them. Ginny had returned with Lisa. All set, she announced. Your current supervisor sends her congratulations, by the way. Lisa smiled, but Andre could see the tension in her shoulders. Ready to go home, babies? Andre stood, handing the tablet back to Sarah. She grabbed it and jumped up too. Can Andre come back tomorrow? She asked her father. Not tomorrow, sweetheart, but soon. Mr. Thompson looked at Lisa. My daughter's 8th birthday party is next month. We'd love to have you both there. Please? Sarah added, giving Andre what had to be a well-practiced puppy dog look. We'll see, Lisa said diplomatically. Right now, we need to get home. They said their goodbyes, Sarah giving Andre a surprise hug before they left. As they walked through the construction site, now mostly empty in the growing darkness, workers nodded respectfully at them. So, Lisa said once they were on the street, want to tell me about that eviction notice in your pocket? Andre stopped walking. How did you dash? I'm your mother. She turned to face him. I know when you're carrying something heavy, baby. And I don't just mean in your pocket. Andre pulled out the crumpled notice, handing it to her. I was going to tell you, he said quietly. I didn't want you to worry more than you already do. Lisa read the notice quickly, her face unreadable in the streetlight. Then she pulled Andre into a tight hug. You don't have to carry everything by yourself, she whispered. That's my job. But dash, no buts. She pulled back, holding his face between her hands. You're 13, Andre. Your job is to be 13. Let me handle the rest. Is that why you took Mr. Thompson's job? He asked. Lisa smiled slightly. I took it because it's a good opportunity. The timing. She glanced back at the construction site. Sometimes life works in mysterious ways. They started walking again, Andre matching his steps to his mother's. Are you scared? He asked after a while. About the new job? A little. She squeezed his shoulder. But I'm more proud than scared. Of getting the job? Of you, baby? She stopped at a street corner, waiting for the light to change. You saw someone in trouble, and you acted. No hesitation, no thought about what might happen to you. Just pure good instinct. Andre felt his face warm. I just did what anyone would do. No, Lisa said softly. Not anyone. Your father would have done it. And you did it. That's not just anyone. The mention of his father made Andre's chest tight. Do you think he would be proud? Oh, baby. Lisa pulled him close again, right there on the street corner. He's proud. Wherever he is, he's so proud. They walked the rest of the way home in comfortable silence. The apartment building looked different somehow, even though nothing had changed. Maybe it was knowing they wouldn't have to leave it now. Mom? Andre said as they climbed the stairs. I've been walking home from school, instead of taking the bus. That's how I was there today. Lisa stopped on the landing, turning to look at him. The bus money? I wanted you to have it for work. She closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, they were shining with tears. No more walking, she said firmly. No more sacrificing. We're going to be okay now. Andre nodded, believing her. After all, he'd seen how quickly things could change. One moment, one decision, one act of instinct. That's all it took sometimes. As they entered their apartment, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Sarah wants to know if you like chocolate cake. RT. Andre smiled, showing the message to his mom. She laughed, shaking her head. Life really does work in mysterious ways, she said. Now go to your homework while I figure out dinner. Andre headed to his room, but paused in the doorway. Mom? Yes, baby? I love you. She smiled, and for the first time in a long time, it reached her eyes completely. I love you too, more than you'll ever know. Morning light filtered through the thin curtains of their apartment. Andre sat at the small kitchen table, watching his mother iron her best blouse. Her hands moved with practiced precision, smoothing every wrinkle. You don't have to get up this early, Lisa said, not looking up from her work. It's Saturday. I know. Andre took another spoonful of cereal. I wanted to. The iron hissed as she sprayed water on a stubborn crease. They'd been up since 5, both too nervous to sleep. Monday felt simultaneously too close and too far away. Mr. Thompson said casual business where, Lisa muttered, more to herself than Andre. What does that even mean? It means you look perfect, Mom. She smiled, finally setting the iron down. You're biased? Doesn't mean I'm wrong. The phone rang, making them both jump. Lisa answered it, her voice professional. Hello? Yes, this is she. Her eyes widened slightly. Oh, hello, Robert. Andre sat up straighter, trying to hear the other side of the conversation. Yes, I have the paperwork. No, that won't be a problem. Really, you don't have to. Lisa glanced at Andre. Hold on, let me ask him. She covered the phone with her hand. Sarah's asking if you want to come to the office today. Apparently, she's helping her father catch up on weekend work and... Lisa raised an eyebrow. She's bored. Andre thought about his Saturday plans, which had mainly involved helping his mom prepare for Monday. Can we afford Dash? They're sending a car, Lisa said, anticipating his concern. Then, yeah, okay. Lisa returned to the phone. He'd love to? Yes, that would be fine. Thank you, Robert. She hung up, shaking her head slightly. Car will be here in 30 minutes. You should come too, Andre suggested. Baby, I need to dash. The ironing can wait. He gestured to the pile of clothes. Come see your new office. Please. Lisa hesitated, then smiled. Okay, but let me change first. 28 minutes later, a sleek black car pulled up outside their building. The driver, a woman in a neat uniform, opened the door for them. Ms. Williams? Master Andre? I'm Helen. Mr. Thompson sent me. They slid into the back seat, the leather cool and smooth beneath them. Andre caught his mother running her hand over the armrest, her expression a mix of awe and uncertainty. The drive took less than 15 minutes, so different from the long bus rides and walks they were used to. The Thompson building rose before them, all glass and steel, stretching into the morning sky. Wow, Andre breathed. Yeah, Lisa agreed softly. Helen pulled into an underground parking garage, using a key card to access a private area. She opened their door again, leading them to a special elevator. Mr. Thompson's office is on the top floor, she explained, using her card again. Sarah's very excited to see you, Andre. The elevator rode smoothly upward. Andre watched the floor numbers climb. 10, 20, 30, 40. When the doors opened, they stepped into a world of polished marble and floor-to-ceiling windows. Sarah's voice carried down the hallway. Are they here yet? Inside voice, sweetheart, Mr. Thompson called back, appearing around a corner. He smiled when he saw them. Lisa, Andre, thank you for coming. You look different today. More casual in jeans and a button-down shirt. Sarah ran up behind him, wearing a pink t-shirt with unicorns on it. Andre, come see my drawing room. Sarah, Mr. Thompson said firmly. What did we discuss? She stopped, straightening up. Would you like to see my drawing room, Andre? Andre looked at his mom, who nodded. Sure. Sarah grabbed his hand, pulling him down the hallway. Behind them, he heard Mr. Thompson say, Lisa, let me show you your office. The drawing room turned out to be a small but sunny space next to Mr. Thompson's office. It had a child-sized desk, art supplies, and a tablet charging station. Daddy lets me come to work with him sometimes, Sarah explained, showing Andre her latest drawings. Since Mom left, Andre sat in one of the small chairs. My dad left too. Well, not exactly left. Sarah looked up from her tablet. What happened? Andre swallowed hard. He died 3 years ago. Oh. Sarah was quiet for a moment. My mom just left. Daddy says she wasn't ready to be a mom. I'm sorry. She shrugged, but Andre saw the hurt in her eyes. It's okay. I have Daddy and Jenny at the construction sites. And now you. Meanwhile, in the main office, Lisa stood in stunned silence. The space Mr. Thompson had led her to was bigger than their living room, with a desk that could have fit their kitchen table twice over. This is mine? You'll need the space, Mr. Thompson explained, showing her the computer setup. My schedule can get complicated. Multiple projects, meetings, family obligations. Like Sarah's birthday party? Lisa asked, remembering the invitation. Mr. Thompson smiled. Exactly. Speaking of which, he hesitated. I know it's your weekend, but would you mind looking at something? He led her to his office, even larger than hers, with views of the entire city. On his desk lay party planning documents. I'm terrible at this stuff, he admitted. Usually Jenny helps, but with the new site opening. Lisa picked up the papers, already seeing ways to improve the arrangements. I'd be happy to help. Thank you. He sat behind his desk. Lisa, I want to be clear about something. This job is not charity. I know. Do you? He leaned forward. I've been watching you work for 2 years. Always on time, always thorough, always professional. I should have offered you this position months ago. Lisa's throat tightened. Then why didn't you? Because I didn't really see you. He glanced toward the drawing room, where they could hear Sarah laughing at something Andre had said. Sometimes it takes a dramatic moment to open our eyes. In the drawing room, Andre and Sarah had moved on to a game on her tablet. It involved building structures and then testing their stability, ironically similar to what had brought them together. No, Andre said, pointing at the screen. If you put that beam there, the whole thing will collapse. How do you know? Physics. We just studied this in school. He helped her adjust the design. See? Now it's stronger. Sarah beamed at him. You're smart. Not really. I just pay attention in class. That's what being smart is, dummy. She giggled at his expression. A knock at the door made them look up. Lisa stood there, looking more relaxed than Andre had seen her in years. Having fun? Andre nodded. Sarah's teaching me about architecture, and Andre's teaching me about physics. Sarah added proudly. Lisa smiled. Good. But we should probably let Mr. Thompson and Sarah get back to their work. Actually, Mr. Thompson appeared behind her. We were thinking of getting lunch. Would you both join us? Sarah jumped up. Please? We can go to Mario's. They have the best pizza. Andre looked at his mother, seeing her hesitation. Even with the new job, fancy restaurants weren't in their budget yet. My treat, Mr. Thompson said quickly. Consider it a welcome to the team celebration. Lisa met Andre's eyes, having one of their silent conversations. He nodded slightly. We'd love to, she said. The restaurant was only a block away, but it was like nothing Andre and Lisa had ever experienced. White tablecloths, soft music, waiters in bow ties. Sarah ordered for all of them, clearly irregular. The margherita pizza is amazing, she assured them, and Daddy always gets the Caesar salad. As they ate, Andre watched his mother slowly relax. She laughed at Mr. Thompson's stories about construction site mishaps, shared her own experiences from years of cleaning offices, and even helped Sarah design a pizza-shaped building on her tablet. This is nice, Sarah declared, sauce on her chin. We should do it every Saturday. Sarah, Mr. Thompson warned. What? Andre makes everything more fun. And Lisa knows everything about organizing stuff. They're like, she thought for a moment, like the missing pieces we didn't know were missing. The adults fell quiet. Andre focused on his pizza, feeling the weight of Sarah's innocent observation. Finally, Mr. Thompson spoke. Well, we'll certainly be seeing more of each other, especially with the party coming up. 2 weeks, Sarah announced. Andre, you have to come early to help set up. Right, Daddy? If he wants to, Mr. Thompson agreed. And if it's okay with Lisa. Lisa smiled. I think we can arrange that. Later, as Helen drove them home, Andre watched the city pass by the tinted windows. You okay, baby? Lisa asked softly. Yeah. He turned to her. Are you? She took his hand, squeezing gently. You know what Sarah said? About missing pieces? Yeah. Maybe she's right. Maybe sometimes life gives you exactly what you didn't know you needed. Andre thought about Sarah's laughter, Mr. Thompson's quiet respect, and the way his mother's eyes shone with new confidence. Yeah, he said. Maybe it does. Monday morning arrived with a nervous energy in the Williams apartment. Andre straightened his school uniform while his mother checked her reflection one last time. Her new business casual outfit, bought yesterday at a department store, fit perfectly. You look great, Mom, Andre said, adjusting his backpack. You sure? It's not too dash, a gentle knock interrupted her. Helen stood in their doorway, Right on time. Good morning, Ms. Williams, Master Andre. Ready for the first day. The drive to Andre's school felt surreal. No crowded bus, no long walk. Just smooth leather seats and quiet classical music playing softly through hidden speakers. I'll pick you up at 3, Lisa said as Andre got out. You don't have to dash. I want to. She smiled. That's the whole point of this new schedule, remember? Andre nodded, his throat tight. Have a good first day, Mom. You too, baby. His friend stared as the black car pulled away. Marcus, his best friend since 5th grade, rushed over. Dude, was that you in the fancy car? Yeah, it's... Andre hesitated. How could he explain everything that had happened? It's a long story. Tell me at lunch? Promise. The school day passed in a blur. Andre checked his phone between classes, finding texts from both his mom and Sarah. Mom, office is amazing. Mr. T says hi. Sarah, Daddy says you're coming to the party planning meeting after school. The second message surprised him. At 3 o'clock, Helen was waiting outside again. Change of plans, she explained as Andre got in. We're picking up your mother and heading to Mr. Thompson's home for dinner and party planning. Andre's stomach twisted. But we're not dressed for dash. Sarah specifically requested you come as you are. Helen smiled in the rearview mirror. She said, and I quote, tell Andre no fancy stuff allowed. They picked up Lisa from the Thompson building. She looked energized despite the full day of work. Baby, you wouldn't believe this office. The view, the people. She caught herself. But how was your day? How was school? Good? Different? He showed her Marcus's reaction to the car. Everything's different now, she agreed softly. The Thompson residence turned out to be a beautiful brownstone in an upscale neighborhood. Sarah burst out the front door as they arrived. Andre, come see my room. I have so many building games. Sarah, Mr. Thompson called from the doorway. Let them at least come inside first. The house's interior was elegant but comfortable. Family photos lined the walls, mostly Sarah and her father, with a noticeable absence of her mother. The kitchen smelled amazing. I hope you like lasagna, Mr. Thompson said. It's my specialty. More like the only thing he can cook, Sarah stage whispered to Andre. Hey now, Mr. Thompson protested, but he was smiling. Go show Andre your games while we finish setting up. Sarah's room was exactly what you'd expect from a 7-year-old future architect. Building blocks, construction toys, and detailed drawings covered every surface. A large dollhouse stood in one corner, but instead of playing house, Sarah had apparently been redesigning it. Look, she said, pointing to tiny modifications. I added support beams and a new wing. That's really cool, Andre said, meaning it. Want to help me design my birthday party? She pulled out her tablet. Daddy says we can build a whole mini-city for the guests to play in. They spent the next hour planning increasingly elaborate party structures until Lisa called them for dinner. The dining room table was set simply but elegantly. Andre watched carefully to see which fork his mother used first. So, Andre, Mr. Thompson said as they began eating, how was school? Good, sir. We're studying physics, force and motion. Really? Mr. Thompson looked interested. Any practical applications? Well, Andre glanced at Sarah. It helped me understand why that barrier was unstable. The table went quiet for a moment. Sorry, Andre said quickly. I didn't mean to dash, no, please. Mr. Thompson set down his fork. I'd like to hear this. Andre explained about force distribution and weak points, surprised to find Mr. Thompson and Sarah listening intently. Even his mother seemed fascinated. You should be an engineer, Sarah declared. Maybe, Andre said, though privately he'd always dreamed of being an architect. Or an architect, Mr. Thompson added, as if reading his mind. We could always use more people who understand both the science and the art of building. After dinner, they gathered in the living room for party planning. Sarah's ideas were ambitious. A mini-city made of cardboard and construction materials, where her friends could build and play. We'll need help setting up, Mr. Thompson said, looking at Andre. If you're interested. Yes. Sarah bounced in her seat. Andre can be in charge of making sure everything's safe. The adults laughed, but Andre felt a warmth in his chest. Trust, he realized. They trusted him. There's something else we should discuss, Mr. Thompson said as Lisa reviewed the party timeline. About the media, Andre's stomach dropped. Lisa sat up straighter. What about the media? The security footage has attracted some attention. A local news station is interested in doing a story. No, Lisa said immediately. My son's not a spectacle. I agree. Mr. Thompson held up his hands. I've been declining interviews. But they're persistent. I wanted you to be prepared. We could do a small statement, Lisa said after a moment, just to get them to back off. No interviews, no cameras. Mr. Thompson nodded. I'll have my PR team draft something. I'll write it, Lisa said firmly. If we're doing this, it'll be our words. Andre watched his mother, seeing the strength that had always been there, but now shone through clearly. Of course, Mr. Thompson agreed. Whatever you think is best. Sarah, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke up. Can I say something too? About how Andre saved me? The adults exchanged looks. Maybe just a thank you, Mr. Thompson suggested gently. Nothing too detailed. Okay. Sarah turned to Andre. Thank you for saving my life. The simple sincerity in her voice made Andre's eyes sting. You're welcome, he managed. Later, as Helen drove them home, Andre thought about trust and changes in 7-year-olds who redesigned dollhouses. About mothers who stood straighter and fathers who were gone, but not forgotten. Mom, he said quietly. I think I want to be an architect. Lisa pulled him close, kissing the top of his head. Then that's what you'll be, baby. That's what you'll be. At home, Andre found a text from Sarah. Daddy says I can't have a whole city at my party, but maybe just a really cool building? Will you help design it? He smiled, typing back. Definitely. His mother appeared in his doorway. Everything okay? Yeah. He showed her the text. Just planning the next project. Lisa sat on his bed. You know, when your father died, I was so scared. Not just about money or survival, but about you growing up without someone to look up to. Mom, Dash, let me finish. She took his hand. But watching you these past few days, your kindness, your courage, your dreams. You've become exactly the kind of person he would have been proud of. The kind of person I'm proud of. Andre hugged her tight, letting her words wash over him. We're going to be okay, he whispered. We already are, baby. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. We already are. His phone buzzed again. Another text from Sarah. P.S. Daddy says to tell you the physics homework helped offer stands. He has 3 engineering degrees. Andre laughed, showing his mother. See? Lisa said, sometimes life gives you exactly what you need. Even if it comes in unexpected packages, like a wobbly construction barrier. Like a wobbly construction barrier. She stood, kissing his forehead. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's another big day. Andre lay in bed later, listening to the familiar sounds of their apartment. Everything was different now, but somehow also exactly right. Outside his window, the city glowed with possibility. He had one more text to send before sleep. Tell your dad thanks. For everything. Sarah's reply came instantly. He says that's what family's for. Night, Andre. Don't forget to dream up amazing buildings. Family, Andre thought as he drifted off. Maybe Sarah had been right about those missing pieces after all. The next few days fell into a new rhythm. Helen picked them up each morning, dropping Andre at school before taking Lisa to the Thompson building. After school, Andre often found himself in Sarah's drawing room, helping with her latest architectural creations while his mother mastered her new role. Thursday afternoon, Mr. Thompson called them both into his office. Please sit, he said, gesturing to the leather chairs facing his desk. There's something important we need to discuss. Andre's stomach tightened. Had they done something wrong? But Mr. Thompson was smiling. Lisa, your work this week has been exceptional. You've already reorganized filing systems I didn't even know needed reorganizing. Thank you, Sir Robert. Lisa corrected herself. And Andre, Mr. Thompson continued, Sarah's teachers called. Apparently, her physics homework has improved dramatically since she started getting help from her new brother. Andre felt his face warm. I just explained some basics, which is exactly why I wanted to talk to you both. Mr. Thompson leaned forward. I have a proposition. He pulled out a folder, sliding it across the desk to Lisa. What's this? She asked. A formal employment contract. Different from the temporary one you signed Monday. Lisa opened the folder, her eyes widening as she read. This is... She trailed off. A 5-year contract, Mr. Thompson finished. With a significant raise, full benefits, college savings plan for Andre, and... He paused. A housing allowance? Andre watched his mother's hands tighten on the paper. Why? She asked quietly. Because you're good at your job. Because Sarah adores both of you. Because... Mr. Thompson glanced at a photo on his desk. Sarah as a toddler, held by a woman who must have been her mother. Because sometimes people come into your life exactly when you need them. The college savings, Lisa said. That's too much. Is it? Mr. Thompson turned to Andre. Tell me, what do you want to study? Architecture, Andre said without hesitation. And engineering? Both. Mr. Thompson raised an eyebrow. Yes, sir. I want to understand buildings completely. How they work, not just how they look. Mr. Thompson smiled. Do you know how much architectural school costs? Andre's heart sank. No, sir. A lot. Mr. Thompson tapped the contract. This plan would cover it. Plus engineering courses. Lisa was still reading. The housing allowance. There's an apartment building 2 blocks from here, Mr. Thompson said carefully. I own it. The top floor unit just became available. Robert Dash, before you say no, he held up a hand. Think about it. Andre would be closer to school. You'd be closer to work. Sarah would have someone nearby when I'm traveling for business. Which is often. Sarah's voice came from the doorway. She stood there with her tablet, looking unusually serious. Please say yes. I don't like being alone with just the nanny when Daddy travels. Lisa looked at Andre, her eyes asking a silent question. It's a good offer, Mom, he said softly. The best I've ever made, Mr. Thompson added. And the most selfish. Selfish? Lisa asked. I get a brilliant assistant who actually makes my life run smoothly. Sarah gets the family she's been missing. And Andre. He smiled. Well, Thompson Construction could always use more talented architects in about 10 years. Sarah bounced on her toes. Say yes, say yes, say yes. Can we? Lisa took a deep breath. Can we think about it? Of course. Mr. Thompson stood. Take the weekend. Discuss it. The apartment will be ready whenever you decide. Can we see it? Andre asked suddenly. Mr. Thompson grinned. I was hoping you'd ask. He pulled out a set of keys. Sarah, want to give him the tour? Yes. She grabbed Andre's hand. Come on. Wait till you see the view. The elevator ride to the top floor was filled with Sarah's excited chatter about having Andre so close by. When the doors opened, Andre's breath caught. The apartment was huge, at least 3 times the size of their current place. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered stunning views of the city. The kitchen gleamed with new appliances. There were 3 bedrooms, each with its own bathroom. This one could be your room, Sarah said, pulling Andre into a space bigger than his current bedroom and living room combined. We could set up a drafting table by the window. Lisa stood in the doorway, her face unreadable. Mom? Andre said quietly. It's too much, she whispered. Mr. Thompson, who had been hanging back, stepped forward. Lisa, can we talk? Privately. They moved to the living room while Andre and Sarah explored the other rooms. I know what you're thinking, Mr. Thompson said. That it's charity, that you haven't earned it. Haven't I? Lisa's voice was sharp. Robert, this apartment probably costs more than I made in the last 5 years combined. Probably, he agreed. But that's not the point. Then what is? The point is... He sighed. The point is that Sarah's mother left because she said this life was too constraining. The schedules, the responsibilities, the constant pressure of maintaining an image. She wanted freedom. Lisa was quiet, listening. But you, he continued, you've already proven you understand responsibility. You've raised an amazing son on your own. You've worked multiple jobs without complaining. You've maintained your dignity through everything life has thrown at you. That's just being a parent. Exactly. Mr. Thompson's voice was soft. Sarah needs that. I need that. This company needs that. The salary, the apartment, it's not charity. It's investment in people I want in my life. In my daughter's life. From the bedroom, they heard Sarah and Andre laughing about something. She hasn't laughed like that in years, Mr. Thompson said. Not since her mother left. Lisa wiped her eyes. Andre either. Not since his father. So maybe, Mr. Thompson suggested gently, this isn't about charity or earning or anything else. Maybe it's just about two broken families helping each other heal. In Andre's potential bedroom, Sarah was already planning. We can put your desk here and maybe some bookshelves there, she pointed. And look, you can see the construction site from here. Andre looked out the window. The site where everything had changed was visible, workers moving like tiny figures below. Do you think your mom will say yes? Sarah asked, suddenly uncertain. Andre watched his mother and Mr. Thompson talking in the living room. He saw the way his mother's shoulders had slowly relaxed over the week, the way Mr. Thompson seemed less tired with her handling his schedule. I hope so, he said. Me too. Sarah was quiet for a moment. I miss my mom sometimes, even though she left. Is that weird? No. Andre thought of his father. I miss my dad every day. Does it ever stop hurting? Not really. But he watched a crane lift materials to the upper floors of the construction site. It helps to build new things, new memories, new family. Sarah slipped her hand into his. Like us? Yeah, Andre smiled. Like us. They heard footsteps approaching. Lisa and Mr. Thompson stood in the doorway. Well, Sarah demanded. Lisa looked at Andre, her eyes asking one last time. He nodded. We'll take it, she said. Sarah's shriek of joy probably carried all the way to the lobby. She hugged Andre, then Lisa, then her father. When can they move in? She asked. The apartment will be ready next week, Mr. Thompson said. If that works for you, Lisa, that's perfect. Lisa looked around the space with new eyes. We don't have much to move anyway. I can help, Sarah offered. I'm really good at organizing things. Speaking of organizing, Mr. Thompson checked his watch. We should head back to the office. There's still the birthday party to plan. As they rode the elevator down, Sarah clutched Andre's hand. This is the best early birthday present ever, she declared. The party's not for 2 weeks, Mr. Thompson reminded her. I don't mean the party. She rolled her eyes in the way only a 7-year-old could. I mean the moving here. Now Andre can help me with homework all the time. The adults laughed, but Andre saw the moisture in his mother's eyes, the soft smile on Mr. Thompson's face. Back in the office, Lisa dove into her work with renewed energy. Andre and Sarah returned to their latest architectural project, designing her birthday party space. We should make it look like a real construction site, Sarah suggested. With safety hats for everyone and blueprint party favors, Andre added, warming to the theme. Yes, Sarah beamed at him. See? This is why you're the best brother ever. Brother. The words settled warmly in Andre's chest. Through the office window, he could see their future home, gleaming in the afternoon sun. Sometimes, he thought, the best buildings weren't made of steel and concrete. Sometimes they were built from second chances, shared dreams, and the laughter of a 7-year-old who needed a brother just as much as he needed a sister. Moving day dawned bright and clear. Andre stood in his old bedroom, now empty except for a few boxes labeled in Sarah's careful handwriting. She'd insisted on helping them pack, turning it into a game of organization that had somehow made the whole process easier. Ready, baby? Lisa appeared in the doorway. She'd been up since dawn, double-checking every corner of their old apartment. Yeah. Andre picked up the last box, filled with his father's things. The few precious items they'd kept. His police badge, some photos, his favorite coffee mug. Helen waited downstairs with the car, though they hardly needed it. The moving truck had already taken their furniture to the new apartment. Mr. Thompson had offered to buy them new everything, but Lisa had refused. Our furniture works just fine, she'd said firmly. It's lived our story with us. Now, standing in the empty apartment, Andre felt the weight of that story. Every mark on the wall, every worn floorboard held a memory. We can come back to visit Mrs. Rodriguez, Lisa said, reading his mind. Their elderly neighbor had cried when they told her they were moving. I know. Andre shifted the box in his arms. It's just different, Lisa finished. Everything's different now. The drive to their new home felt shorter than ever. Sarah waited in the lobby, practically vibrating with excitement. Finally, she hugged them both. Daddy's upstairs. We've been setting up all morning. The elevator ride was filled with Sarah's chatter about room arrangements and design plans. When the doors opened to their floor, Andre stopped short. Mr. Thompson stood in their new living room, directing workers who were installing what looked like a professional drafting table by the window. "What's this?" Andre asked, setting down his box. "Every architect needs a proper workspace," Mr. Thompson said simply. "Consider it a housewarming gift." Before Andre could protest, Sarah grabbed his hand. "Come see your room. We painted it yesterday." The walls were a soft blue-gray, exactly the shade Andre had admired in a design magazine last week. A desk and bookshelf lined one wall, while the drafting table commanded the window space. Architecture books filled the shelves, everything from basic design to advanced engineering. Sarah picked the colors, Mr. Thompson said from the doorway. "With some help from your mom?" Andre ran his hand over the drafting table's smooth surface. "This is too much." "No," Sarah declared. "It's exactly enough. Now you can teach me properly." Lisa appeared with Andre's box of his father's things. She paused, taking in the room. "It's perfect," she said softly. "Thank you, Robert." Mr. Thompson waved off her thanks. Sarah has ulterior motives. She wants Andre to design her a treehouse next. "With an elevator," Sarah added, "and solar panels." They spent the morning unpacking, their old furniture looking somehow both out of place and perfectly right in the new space. Sarah assigned herself the job of organizing Andre's books, while Mr. Thompson helped Lisa arrange the kitchen to her liking. Around noon, the doorbell rang. "That'll be lunch," Mr. Thompson said. But when Andre opened the door, it wasn't delivery. Marcus stood there, looking nervous. "Hey," his friend said. "Sarah texted me the address." Andre turned to find Sarah grinning. "Surprise! I asked Daddy if your best friend could come see the new place." Marcus stepped inside, his eyes wide. "Dude, this is insane. Want the tour?" Andre offered. As the boys explored the apartment, Andre told Marcus everything: the rescue, the job offer, the changes. His friend listened without interrupting. "So," Marcus said finally, "you're like rich now?" "No," Andre corrected quickly. "We're just doing better." "Way better," Marcus whistled, looking out the window. "But you're still you, right? We're still going to hang out and stuff?" "Course we are. You're my best friend." Marcus relaxed. "Good, because I still need help with physics. And Sarah says you're like a genius now." They laughed, the tension broken. Sarah appeared with her tablet. "Want to see the treehouse we're designing?" The afternoon passed in a blur of unpacking, design discussions, and pizza, which finally did arrive. As the sun set, casting long shadows through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Andre found himself back in his new room. The drafting table stood ready, a blank sheet of paper waiting. On the shelf above it, he placed his father's badge, catching the last rays of sunlight. "He would have loved this view," Lisa said quietly, joining him. "Yeah." Andre touched the badge gently. "Do you think he'd understand all of this?" "Oh, baby." Lisa wrapped her arm around his shoulders. He understood something important: that sometimes the family you need isn't always the one you're born with. From the living room, they heard Sarah laughing at something Marcus had said. Mr. Thompson's deeper chuckle joined in. "Speaking of family," Lisa smiled, "we should probably rescue Robert from teenage boy humor." They found Marcus teaching Sarah a complicated handshake while Mr. Thompson watched in bemused confusion. No, Marcus was saying. "After the fist bump, you have to do the wiggle thing. Like this." Sarah attempted the move, nearly falling over. "Almost." Marcus turned to Andre. "Help me out here, bro." Andre demonstrated the handshake perfectly. He and Marcus had invented it in 6th grade. "See?" Marcus high-fived Sarah. "Your brother's got it." Brother. There was that word again, feeling more natural every time. "I should head home," Marcus said eventually. "Mom's making lasagna." "I'll walk you down," Andre offered. In the elevator, Marcus was quiet for a moment. "You know," he said finally, "I was worried when you first told me about all this. Thought maybe you'd change, get all fancy and stuff." "Never," Andre promised. "I know that now." Marcus grinned. "You're just you, but with a better view and an awesome little sister." They did their handshake one more time before Marcus left. When Andre returned upstairs, he found Sarah had commandeered his drafting table. "I'm designing your next birthday party," she announced. "It's going to be architecture-themed. My birthday's not for months," Andre reminded her. So, good design takes time. She showed him her tablet. See? We can make a maze out of cardboard boxes, and everyone has to use engineering principles to escape. Mr. Thompson groaned. I've created monsters. Both of you. Good monsters, Lisa called from the kitchen, where she was arranging Andre's father's mug on a special shelf. Later that night, after Sarah and Mr. Thompson had gone home, just 2 floors down, Sarah reminded them repeatedly. Andre stood at his window. The city lights sparkled below. Construction sites dotted the landscape like connect the dots in his new life. His phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Check your drafting table. Left you a surprise. He found a carefully folded paper airplane. Inside, in Sarah's best handwriting. Dear Andre, thank you for saving my life and being the best brother ever. Even if we're not really related, you're still my family. Love, Sarah P.S. Can we start on the treehouse tomorrow? Andre smiled, placing the note carefully on his shelf next to his father's badge. Old memories and new ones, side by side. His mom appeared in the doorway. Everything okay? Yeah. He looked around his new room, at all the possibilities it represented. Everything's perfect. Lisa hugged him tight. Your father used to say that home isn't a place, it's the people who make you feel safe. Andre thought of Sarah's laughter, Marcus's loyalty, Mr. Thompson's quiet support, and his mother's endless strength. He was right, Andre said. As usual, outside, a crane swung slowly through the night sky, building something new against the stars. Inside, in a room with blue-gray walls and endless possibilities, Andre Williams began to sketch his future. The morning of Sarah's birthday dawned with controlled chaos. Andre arrived at the Thompsons' house early, his arms full of carefully rolled blueprints for the party setup. Sarah met him at the door in her construction helmet, complete with a birthday princess sticker. Finally, she pulled him inside. Daddy's trying to build the cardboard city, but he's doing it all wrong. In the living room, Mr. Thompson stood surrounded by cardboard boxes and packing tape, consulting Andre's designs with a bewildered expression. Thank God, he said when he saw Andre. Please tell me you understand these drawings better than I do. Andre grinned, setting down his blueprints. That's why I'm here early. Can't have a construction-themed party without proper supervision. Lisa arrived moments later with a clipboard and timeline. Over the past month, she'd transformed from office assistant to indispensable partner in running both Thompson's business and personal life. Decorators will be here in 30 minutes, she announced. Cake at 11, guests at noon. Andre, you're in charge of the building station setup. Already on it? He was laying out the blueprint. Party favors Sarah's idea, but his design. Sarah bounced between them all, her excitement infectious. This is going to be the best party ever. 2 hours later, the Thompsons' house had transformed into a miniature construction site. Cardboard skyscrapers lined the walls, each waiting to be decorated by party guests. Building stations were set up with safe materials for kids to experiment with structure and design. Even the cake, delivered by a high-end bakery, looked like a perfect architectural model. Andre, Sarah called from her room. Help! Emergency! He found her struggling with her special party dress, a custom design that incorporated elements of both princess and architect. The belt stuck, she explained, twisting around. Andre knelt to help, easily fixing the caught fabric. There. Perfect. Sarah studied herself in the mirror. Do you think Mom would like it? The question hung in the air. It was the first time Sarah had mentioned her mother in weeks. I think, Andre said carefully, that anyone would be proud to see what an amazing person you are. Sarah met his eyes in the mirror. I don't miss her as much anymore. Is that bad? No. Andre squeezed her shoulder. It just means you're healing. Like you? With your dad? Yeah. He smiled. Exactly like that. A commotion downstairs signaled the arrival of the first guests. Sarah grabbed Andre's hand. Come on, we have to show them how to build properly. The party was a hit. Kids moved between stations, building and creating under Andre's guidance. He taught them basic principles of structure, helping them understand why certain designs worked better than others. Marcus arrived with a huge gift wrapped in blueprint paper. Sarah said you helped design the whole party? Most of it, Andre admitted. She had the ideas, I just made them work. Dude. Marcus watched Sarah explain load-bearing walls to her friends using cardboard and tape. You've created a mini-you. Lisa appeared with fresh supplies. Andre, honey, can you help at the bridge building station? Some of the kids are having trouble with support concepts. As Andre worked with the young builders, he caught snippets of conversation around him. Did you see the blueprints? So cool. I want a construction party too. Sarah's brother is really smart about building stuff. Brother. The word didn't even feel strange anymore. Mr. Thompson found him during a quiet moment. You've done an amazing job, he said, surveying the controlled chaos. With everything, not just today. Thank you, sir. Robert, he corrected. I think we're well past sir now. He paused. I wanted to ask you something. About the future. Andre tensed slightly. How would you feel about an internship? Next summer at Thompson Construction. Learning the real business of architecture and engineering, Andre's heart jumped. Really? Really? Mr. Thompson smiled. Sarah's not the only one who's noticed your talent. My lead architect saw your designs for today. He was impressed. Before Andre could respond, Sarah's voice rang out. Cake time. Andre, you have to help me cut it. It's a structural challenge. The cake cutting became an impromptu lesson in angles and layers, with Sarah explaining to her friends why they had to cut it a certain way to maintain stability. She's going to be quite the architect herself, Lisa said, joining Andre. Yeah. He watched Sarah distribute cake with mathematical precision. She's got the eye for it. Like someone else I know. Lisa hugged him quickly. Your father would be so proud of you, baby. Of everything you've become. As the party wound down, parents collecting sugar-rush children, clutching their blueprint party favors, Sarah found Andre in his favorite spot by the window. Thank you, she said seriously. This was the best birthday ever. Better than Disney World? Way better. She climbed onto the window seat beside him. Because it was real. Like us. Andre looked at her questioning. What do you mean? Well, she said with the wisdom of a newly minted 8-year-old, Disney World is pretend magic. But this, she gestured around them, this is real magic. You and me, and your mom and my dad, and all of us being a family. That's better than any ride or princess. From across the room, Andre caught his mother's eye. She was laughing at something Mr. Thompson had said, her entire being more relaxed than Andre had ever seen her. Yeah, he agreed. Real magic. Andre. Sarah's voice was suddenly small. Promise you'll always be my brother? Even when I'm annoying or mess up your drawings or talk too much about buildings? He pulled her into a hug. Promise. Families stick together, remember? Even weird families made up of people who aren't really related. Especially those families. He grinned. They're the best kind. Later that night, after the last guest had left and the cardboard city had been carefully preserved, Sarah insisted. Andre stood on their balcony looking at the city lights. His phone buzzed with messages. Marcus, dude, that party was epic. You're gonna be famous for this stuff someday. Sarah, can't sleep. Too excited. Planning next year's party already. Mr. Thompson, internship paperwork ready whenever you are. Proud of you, kid. His mother joined him on the balcony, 2 cups of hot chocolate in hand. Good day? She asked. The best. He took a cup. Mom, are you happy? She looked out at the city, at the life they'd built from one moment of courage and kindness. Happier than I've been in years, she said honestly. You know why? Why? Because sometimes the bravest thing we can do is let people in. Let them help us build something new. Andre thought about that as he sipped his hot chocolate. About Sarah's laughter and Marcus's loyalty. About Mr. Thompson's quiet guidance and his mother's renewed strength. About a little girl on a construction site, a split-second decision, and all the beautiful things that had grown from that moment. His father's badge sat on his drafting table inside, catching the city lights. Next to it lay Sarah's birthday card to him, to the best brother in the world. Thanks for building a family with us. Love, your sister. Above them, a crane swung slowly through the night sky, its red warning light blinking like a star. Below, the city hummed with life and possibility. And here, in this moment, Andre Williams knew something his father had tried to teach him, that the strongest structures weren't always made of steel and concrete. Sometimes they were built of second chances and shared dreams of quiet mornings and birthday parties, of chosen families and brave decisions. Sometimes they were built of love. Sarah's voice carried from her apartment 2 floors down, singing her new favorite song about building bridges and reaching heights. Andre smiled, finishing his hot chocolate. Tomorrow, he'd start designing that treehouse she wanted. With an elevator, of course, and solar panels. After all, that's what brothers were for.